Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Just Saying Football with Jack and Sean. I'm your host, Sean Gann, alongside my partner, Jack Nicholas. We're here to bring you news, notes, weekly updates, and game analysis of your favorite teams from around the league. If you don't have the chance, go check out our website, justsayingfootball.com. Follow us on Instagram, at JustSayingNoGWJS for article and video updates. And don't forget to get us in your ears on Spotify, and to check out our bets at Just Saying Football. That's going to be in the Discord. We had a great weekend. In total, for our parlays, we were 3 of 4. Jack nailed it, 2 for 2. I was 1 for 2. So get in there, especially ahead of the conference championship weekend, which we are somehow already in. Jack, what are your thoughts before we get into some news and notes?
Yeah, conference championship weekend. We were just talking about it a little off camera, but every year I feel like some other teams get in here by surprise. This year, definitely Washington beating the Lions last week, huge shocker. Philly, it looked like they were kind of teetering there at the end, but they were able to hold off the Rams. Huge game between Baltimore and the Bills. Obviously, the big bet is dead now, so we can move on. And the Chiefs right now, they look fine. A couple of calls from the refs, we'll get into that. But dude, excited. We got 3 more important football games until August 2025. So we gotta enjoy these while they last.
Yep, we do. So let's get into some news and notes, because a few changes have already happened after the divisional weekend. Ben Johnson, the great offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions, has been named the new head coach of the Chicago Bears, a rival within the division. So you have to imagine Bears fans everywhere are incredibly happy, along with Caleb Williams and this entire offense. Some more head coaching news. Kevin O'Connell has signed an extension with the Vikings. I'm very excited. Let's see what we can do. Let's see if we can finally win a playoff game, though, at the very least, under his tutelage. Moving on in, potential defensive rookie of the year, Quinyon Mitchell, injured his shoulder in the divisional game last weekend, and he missed the rest of the game. Despite that, he is expected to go this weekend, saying, "I'm good to go." So that's huge news. Some bad news for the Commanders. Sam Kosey, their offensive guard, is out for the remainder of the playoffs and will miss most of next season as well with a torn ACL. He's been their interior offensive lineman and started every game for them this season. So that's a big loss as you head into this championship game. Speaking of which, we're going to jump right into it. It's 3 p.m. It's Sunday, everybody. Keep that in mind. Washington Commanders making their way to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. The Eagles are favored in this one by -6 with an over-under here of 47.5. It's a divisional matchup in the NFC Championship. Break it down, my Giants fan friend.
Yeah, man, this is not what we expected. Like I said, always surprising kind of matchups when you get to this point in conference championships. Jayden Daniels, obviously, this is insane. The longest drought in the NFL for conference championship appearances, and you have Jayden Daniels do it and break that drought in his first rookie year. You got to give a shout out to Dan Quinn for all that. But man, it's been crazy to see this evolution in Washington and Philly this year. Both teams look a lot different than they did last year, and they've been super successful. Man, I mean, I know you got a lot to break down about Jayden Daniels, but we can talk about these teams forever with the fact that these are 2 top teams. We're going to get a great game from these 2.
Yeah, so one of the things that we're talking about, it truly is an incredible season from Jayden Daniels. Dak Prescott a few years ago actually had a great one as well. People kind of forget that just given his recent play memory. But his rookie season was one for the books as well. And we've had some great ones along the way, Joe Burrow, etc. But this one has been quite special. He's on a handful of lists. Only Ben Roethlisberger's there, Joe Flacco, and a few others that I'm blanking on at the moment, who's even made it to this conference championship. So some stats I want to get into. Against the Blitz last week, Jayden Daniels was 12 of 16 for 191 yards and a touchdown with over 2.5 seconds, 10 for 16, 170 yards and a touchdown, and under pressure, 7 for 9 for 102 yards. This dude was absolutely unreal against the Lions, and this was a rookie. And they went for it on 4th down, and they have over an 80% conversion on 4th down. This Commanders team is not just going to lay down and take a loss right now in Philadelphia. This is going to be an electric game, I think.
Yeah, I think that what you're looking at is, like you said, just the fact that Philly is going to have to pressure Jayden Daniels and deal with the fact that even if you pressure him, there's not going to be much you can do about it. We saw Jalen Hurts the last couple of weeks. He was conservative going into the playoffs with his passing, but now he's been getting a little better. I want to see something out of A.J. Brown this week. He has 3 catches for 24 yards in 2 games, and the longest catch has been 10 yards. So you got to see him get involved. I know a lot of people say, well, it's Saquon. They're up a lot. They're just running a lot. Good teams get all their players involved. If you're going to beat the Commanders, you're going to need everyone involved. Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, to get those opportunities for Saquon to do what he's been doing the last couple of weeks. But it's going to be interesting to see how Jayden Daniels attacks this number one secondary in the Eagles with Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, both of the rookies playing out of their minds, as well. Hell of a draft class we've had this year. You can tell by how far most of them are in the playoffs. But yeah, man, this is one of those things where it's like, who do you think, besides maybe like Terry McLaurin, needs to step up for Washington for them to win this game?
I think it's their entire defense. At the end of the day last week, the Lions team was great, but they let up over 30 points against them. Against the Eagles, while they were benching some key starters, they let up 30 points. Granted, Washington benched a few guys as well for some rest heading into this playoffs. And the thing that I'm most worried about is that this Phillies defense and this run game has shown time and time again that Jalen Hurts doesn't need to throw. He didn't even throw for 130 yards last week. He was 15 for 20, 120 yards. Because he didn't have to. You have Saquon Barkley breaking it down 50-plus yard touchdowns time and time again. And this defense, which creates turnovers. And Jalen Carter, we talked about it a little bit off camera, he's a guy you have to highlight. Only in his second year, has just been unreal, making these huge plays for this defense when they need him the most, creating turnovers, and then Barkley scoring right after that. And for me, the Sam Kosey injury, that's the brutal part. I'm looking at that, and this interior offensive line has to step up for this Washington team. This Washington defense is going to need to step up because at the end of the day, if they're not able to contain Barkley, when they played Barkley, he had 2 20-plus rushing touchdowns against them. Yeah. It won't happen. They put up 20 points against them in the fourth quarter. It's going to be tough for Washington. I'm locking in Philly. I don't want to pick them. I'm a New Yorker. We don't want Philly to win anything. But this team is great. This run game is great. This defense is great. It's if they have the opportunity to pass, because we know that they can, and they gets going, they could easily win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think I'm going to oppose you here for this and give a little side on Washington. I think that, you see Brian Robinson get 2 touchdowns last week. You're realizing, there are similarities between these offenses. It just seems that, we are going to probably get more passing out of the Washington side, which I feel like this is an offense that's going to be able to keep up with Philly, kind of keep them in a close game. We've seen them win a close game earlier this year. The Washington defense is the only thing that scares me, 30th against the run. So if they're able to contain Barkley somehow, I think they can win this game. They have the best 4th down conversion rate ever. This team is very special. So we could be, knocking off a division rival away in the playoffs with a rookie QB. It's just too good for me to pass up.
Yeah, I do also want to say about this game, it's supposed to be between 40 degrees, 25 degrees, rain and snow at the moment, at the time of this recording. That's obviously bound to change. Weather changes, but at the moment, rain and snow. Keep that in mind when you're betting. Maybe you bet a few unders on some running backs, Brian Robinson in particular. All right, moving this right along. AFC Conference Championship game, 6:30 p.m. It's the Buffalo Bills making their way to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. Chiefs are favored this one by -1.5 with an over-under here of 47.5. Now, we all know the story. Josh Allen destroys Mahomes in the playoffs, or in the regular season, never the playoffs, sadly. Over 3 in the playoffs. Always beats Mahomes in the playoff or regular season. 0-2 with this one. Jeez. Won against him this year, but in the playoffs, 0-3. Can't win against him. Is this the year that the Bills go over the hump, or is this Chiefs team, which hasn't looked as sexy as they have in the past, just built different once again?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of that. They're built different in the sense that they are the number 1 seed. They will be at home. I think that, this is the opportunity, if ever, to get Patrick Mahomes. You know that if you're going to have to beat him or stop him from winning the Super Bowl, you're probably going to have to meet him here in this territory. Josh has done it before. But it's interesting. I think that the Buffalo Bills need to control the entire game with their ground game if they're going to get that done. The Chiefs have had a great defense this year as well. But Allen, 14 touchdowns on the ground, 2 of them, 2 additional ones last week. And then you have James Cook with 16 touchdowns on the year. They also got Ray Davis, Ty Johnson. They can beat you without really even using anything outside their backfield. They're going to have to kind of utilize, I think, Amari Cooper, Keon Coleman. Every week it's like, where are these guys? I know they're ahead. They will not be ahead in this game. I think that the Chiefs have figured out a way to play these guys. Once they've played them once, we've seen it before. Then I expect a big game out of James Cook. His line is always at 55.5. He's been fantastic doing that. They're going to do that. But, the Bills, we saw them make Lamar move a lot last week and contain the running game. So I think that they could do that with Pacheco and Hunt. I love Mahomes to rush for 25 yards in this as well, and Worthy to get at least like 5 catches. That's where I see the game going. I think that it could be one of those things, like you said. I know I'm rambling now, but it's so many of the things you asked where this game is so layered.
It just feels like it's the two greats of the current, right?
Yeah.
Facing off, and this is where Josh Allen and this team has struggled the most, as in the playoffs and deep in the playoffs. And he hasn't had to pass. He didn't have to pass a whole lot against Baltimore. 16 for 22, 127 yards. Let's not forget against what he did against Denver. 272, 2 touchdowns, almost 80% completion. And James Cook, who's just been electric. 187 yards in these 2 postseason games. They're going to rely on him. They're going to rely on what Josh Allen can do. And I think what it is, it's talked about all the time. Like, the Chiefs won last week's game, and all the teams that won last week had less yards. Like, they can find ways to win the game without doing as much as they need to. And maybe part of it's the rest. Maybe part of it's luck, depending on how you look on that. Right? But that's what they're able to do. And the Bills, and like people talk about it all the time, and it's true. They have to have the cleanest game, and they have been playing those games the last 2. No minimal mistakes, moving the ball downfield. They're making big plays when they have to. They're relying on all these different playmakers to get their guys open. I like the Bills for this one. I talked about them a lot in the offseason. I didn't think they got the weapons. I didn't expect them to be here, and they completely shut me down. Josh Allen said, I'm the fucking man. I'm the MVP. Give it to me. Look at what I'm able to do in the playoffs. Look at how electric I am in the regular season. And he's proven it. If they don't win it this year, it just feels like, what are you missing? Like the defense plays great, your quarterback plays great, you have playmakers, you got the running back. What else more do you need? You have the coaches, you got the front office, you're getting the new stadium. Like, it just feels like, what is there left? I'm locking in the Bills. It's this year. It's this year, or it just doesn't feel like it's going to happen, at least for like another 2-3 more years that you'll get this feeling. But this is the year. The Chiefs just are that same team. They're 15-2, I think, total on the year, right? But like, it just doesn't feel like they're the same. Like, we can get one big play, score in one play in 99 yards, and it's like that. It feels like this is the year. So I'm riding Buffalo on this one.
Yeah, I'm going to oppose you again. I'm going to go with Kansas City, home team right now. I hate to do it. The people, if you don't like it, throw it in the comments that you don't like it and why. But I'll tell you one thing. We always kind of forget in these weird seasons with great quarterbacks of, what it really comes down to. And I think that if it comes down to a close game, it was 1.5 last week in favor of Baltimore. Now it's 1.5 in favor of KC. So I'm thinking, hey, maybe the Buffalo Bills with a nice underdog win on the road. But I think Kansas City really can get that done. And I think they can win it at the point that, you're getting everyone involved. I do see this being a lower scoring game than people think, but, it's awesome. Like, this is going to be a great game. I'll take Kansas City. I'll take, Kelsey to get a touchdown. This is going to be full on, this is, we thought game of the year was last week. I still feel like it was, but this is a close second for me.
No, absolutely. And, they do have basically a 12th man with that entire stadium about to go crazy. And, of course, Taylor Swift will be there. Travis Kelce, do have to say, like, everybody was worried about him during the regular season and whatnot. And he went out for 117 on 7 receptions and a touchdown last week. So he's fine for the playoffs. So this will be, once again, can they make magic happen like they have over and over again? This is kind of why Mahomes is getting up there in terms of, greatness. So let's see if he has it in it. I think, and I'm hoping, it's Josh Allen's time. I don't want a three-peat right now. Too early. We can't go through dynasty to dynasty to dynasty. It's no.
You gotta shake it up a little bit.
Exactly. Shake it up a little bit. Let's see what happens this weekend. Looking forward to it. We got a lot of stuff, though, still coming up. We still got a Super Bowl. We got awards next week. We're going to go through some awards to everybody, so keep that in mind. That's all the time that we have today. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
Yeah, thank you guys. As always, enjoy these games. We got Super Bowl awards coming out the next 2 weeks. Thank you guys all for listening all season. Just Saying Football on Spotify and YouTube. Just Saying Football in our Discord for all of our game picks, as well as Just Saying with no G, WJS on Instagram. for all your updates. Thank you guys.
Enjoy.